Machine, written in 1985 by H.G. Wells. A story about a man who, in his time machine, travels to a world more than 100,000, or more than like hundreds of thousands of years into the future, and comes across a culture where the upper class are weak and the lower class are cannibals and eat the upper class. The island of Dr. Morale. A shipwrecked boy comes across an island where a doctor is mixing the genetics of humans and animals to make halflings. The Invisible Man. A scientist makes himself invisible but can't reverse the process, so he stays invisible and decides to kill an acquaintance when the acquaintance refuses to help him return back to visibility. War of the Worlds. Basically, Martians take over the world and murder all the humans. When the Sleeper Wakes. A man, because of insomnia, takes drugs and falls asleep for 200 years. And when he awakes, because of compounded interest, he is the richest man on the planet and owns the world and is seen as the world's leader. And lastly, Men Like Gods. A journalist accidentally travels to an alternate universe called a Utopia, where he brings all the diseases from his current Earth and starts to infect the Utopians, and they all become sick. Herbert George Wells. The world has never been the same. We all have our time machines, don't we? Those that take us back are memories, and those that carry us forward are dreams. H.G. Wells. H.G. Wells pioneered the genre of science fiction. He set the precedent for all future science fiction works. Richard Costa, a biographer of Wells, said that Wells was the supreme communicator of all the possibilities of science during his era. His novels allowed everyone to explore the possibilities of science, whether they were all scientists or not. H.G. Wells' novels have influenced many of our contemporary writers, filmmakers, and scientists. Much of Wells' science fiction inspiration stems from his study of biology, chemistry, astronomy, and physics, and as was stated on biography.com, he was actually a science teacher before he became a writer. His first novel, The Time Machine, made him an overnight sensation, and other popular novels that have since been inspired by him written by him were The Island of Dr. Morale, The Invisible Man, and War of the Worlds. As H.G. Wells is to as Shakespeare is to storytelling, H.G. Wells is to science fiction. As quoted in Wells' biography by Richard Costa, such romantic ideas as travel into past and future time, Martian invasion, invisibility, and lunar voyaging may not have originated with Wells, but a lifetime after he gave expression to them, he is still their principal spokesman. Though Wells may not have been the first to write everything, he was the first man to write everything well. Some novels and movies that you've probably heard of that have Wellsian influence are the Lord of the Rings series, I, Robot, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Independence Day, I Am Legend, and basically any other movie or book that has to do with the world being destroyed because of human vices or by aliens. Wells's predictions in technology have been uncannily accurate. Recent developments in technology were previously alluded to by Wells in his novels, and in a National Geographic article by Richard Lovett, Richard explains how Wells predicted the use of such technology as cell phones and escalators decades before they were invented. In Wells's novel Men Like Gods, people communicated with wireless wrist intercoms and used voicemail, which kind of translates to our modern cell phone. Genetic engineering, blood transfusion, and organ transplants were conducted, although rather gruesomely, in the island of Dr. Moreau. And lastly, Wells imagined automatic doors more than half a century before they were created in When the Sleeper Wakes. Of course, Wells is much more imaginative than us, and he thought that they would go up into the ceiling instead of side to side. But regardless, he thought of the idea more than half a century before they were created. Wells' incorporation of scientific speculation into his novels popularized the genre of science fiction. Although his impact wasn't as drastic as maybe Adolf Hitler's, he is remembered through the details of our lives. He is the one who changed the way we think about such things as alien invasion and time travel and parallel universes, and he helped incorporate them into our everyday lives through speaking and movies and just regular news that we hear on the news. I mean, usually you wouldn't hear about such things as UFOs on the news, but he helped popularize that and make that interesting to people. Wells' influence has lived through generations and can be seen in the movies we watch, the books we read,